Why is Meghan Markle once hailed as the fresh face of the royal family, now the subject of constant scandal? Could it be that the fairy tale she sold us has finally unraveled? Or is there something deeper, something darker, lurking beneath the surface? In this video, we're diving deep into the world of Meghan Markle, exploring the controversy, the drama, and the truth that's been hidden behind her carefully crafted image. From her sudden departure from the royal family to her desperate attempts to hold on to her fame, Meghan's actions have raised more questions than answers. What made her turn from a beloved royal to the most talked about woman in the world? Is Meghan Markle truly the victim of a media witch hunt? Or has she been playing a dangerous game of manipulation all along? Stay tuned as we break down her behavior, the backlash she's facing, and what it all means for her future. But first, I want to hear from you. What's your take on Meghan? Do you see her as a misunderstood figure or a master manipulator? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And remember, if you're as captivated by the drama as we are, make sure to hit like, subscribe, and stay with us as we unravel the mystery of Meghan Markle's fall from grace. Let's rewind a little. Do you remember the first time you saw Meghan Markle? The fairy tale wedding, the radiant smile, the world watching as she stepped into the royal spotlight alongside Prince Harry. At that moment, many of us believed we were witnessing a new chapter for the British royal family, one that promised change, inclusion, and fresh energy. Meghan Markle was hailed as the American actress who had captured the heart of a prince, a symbol of modernity for a centuries-old institution. But what happened after that? How did this once promising fairy tale spiral into one of the most talked about controversies of the 21st century? How did a woman, once adored by millions, become the target of global disdain, with her every move scrutinized and criticized? Now, I know what you might be thinking. It's just the tabloids doing their usual damage, right? But let's pause for a moment. There's something much bigger at play here. And it's not just about media gossip. It's about the way Meghan Markle's relationship with the royal family has become a symbol of modern-day rebellion, a clash of tradition versus a new world order. The question we need to ask ourselves is, was Meghan ever truly prepared for the life she stepped into? From the very beginning, there were whispers. Did Meghan truly understand what it meant to be part of the British royal family? Some say she wanted to rewrite the rules, modernize the monarchy, and bring fresh perspectives to an institution that had long been steeped in tradition. But what happens when you try to change something that has stood the test of time for centuries? Take a moment and think about this. When Prince Harry and Meghan Markle announced they were stepping down from their royal duties, it wasn't just a personal decision. It was a public statement, one that caught the world's attention. People were divided. On one hand, you had those who cheered them on, applauding their courage to break free from the constraints of the royal family. On the other hand, you had those who felt betrayed, disappointed, and even angered by their departure. For some, it felt like a rejection of everything the royal family stood for: service, duty, and the preservation of a legacy. What followed was nothing short of a media frenzy. Meghan's every move was dissected. From her emotional interviews to her seemingly endless legal battles, the public watched, waited, and speculated. Was she really the victim she claimed to be? Or was there something more going on behind the scenes? Was she truly standing up for what she believed in? Or was she simply playing a game for attention? One of the most controversial moments came when Meghan and Harry sat down with Oprah Winfrey for that tell-all interview. The world held its breath as Meghan shared her struggles with royal life, her mental health, and accusations of racism within the family. It was raw. It was emotional. It was a turning point. But then the questions began. Was this an honest portrayal? Or was it a carefully curated narrative designed to paint her as the ultimate victim? And that's where things get tricky. Because if we dig deeper, there's evidence that suggests Meghan's version of events doesn't always line up with reality. Let's look at the timeline of events, shall we? Meghan's critics have pointed out that many of her stories and claims have been contradicted by others, by the royal family, by friends, and even by Meghan herself. Take, for example, the story about her alleged estrangement from her father. Meghan has made no secret of her fractured relationship with Thomas Markle. But could there be more to the story than what she's shared with the public? But it's not just Meghan's personal life that's under scrutiny. Her actions, particularly following her exit from the royal family, have left many people questioning her true intentions. Meghan and Harry, who once pledged to focus on charity and service, have been accused of profiting from their royal connections. They've signed lucrative deals with streaming giants like Netflix and Spotify and launched their own charity foundation. But here's the thing, many feel that these ventures, rather than being purely altruistic, are a way for Meghan and Harry to cash in on their royal titles and public image. So, the question remains, are they really trying to help people? Or are they simply looking for the next big payday? Let's not forget the backlash Meghan has faced since stepping down. While many Americans rallied behind her, eager to support a woman who had broken free from the constraints of royalty, the British public's response was far less welcoming. Meghan and Harry's decision to speak out publicly, particularly in their Oprah interview, only deepened the divide. To many in the UK, their actions were seen as a slap in the face to the very institution that had granted them wealth, fame, and opportunity. So, where does that leave us now? How should we view Meghan Markle's journey? Is she simply a woman who tried to carve out her own path? Or has she become a symbol of a generation that demands everything on their own terms? Regardless of tradition, is Meghan truly misunderstood? Or has she manipulated the narrative to fit her own desires? So, we've touched on Meghan Markle's arrival into the royal family. But now let's focus on the fallout after her and Harry's shocking decision to step back from their royal duties. This was no small move. It shook the foundation of the British royal family and set the stage for a media circus that has only grown more chaotic. But what exactly drove Meghan and Harry to make such an unprecedented decision? And what has happened since they made their escape from the spotlight? The first thing that comes to mind when we talk about Megxit is the intense public debate that followed. Some saw it as a courageous act of rebellion, a young couple refusing to be shackled by centuries-old tradition. Others, however, saw it as an insult to the monarchy, a betrayal of everything the royal family stands for. But when you peel back the layers, it's clear that this wasn't just a personal decision. It was a public spectacle that would go on to define their lives moving forward. Now, you have to ask yourself, what exactly did they expect when they made this move? Meghan and Harry were no longer part of the royal duties, but they still carried the title of Duke and Duchess of Sussex. That's where the story gets complicated. By stepping down from their royal duties, they removed themselves from the public service they were once celebrated for. But then they turned to a different kind of public service, one that would fill their pockets. This is where things get tricky. Since leaving their royal roles, Meghan and Harry have signed multi-million-dollar deals with major platforms like Netflix and Spotify. And let's not forget the launch of their Archewell Foundation. While their supporters argue that they are using their platform for good, many others see it as an attempt to capitalize on their royal titles. Could it be that they were looking for fame and fortune all along, hiding behind the guise of charitable work? But here's the question that lingers in the air. Were they wrong to want a life of financial freedom? Or were they simply taking advantage of the opportunities presented to them? After all, they've already made it clear they wanted to live life on their own terms, separate from the constraints of the royal family. In today's world, that's not a crime. But the backlash has been intense. Take the case of their new charity, Archewell. It sounds noble, right? But then reports surfaced that only a fraction of the donations were actually going to charity, with most of the funds being used for the couple's personal ventures. This raised some eyebrows. Could this be a classic case of royal entitlement, using their title to generate money for themselves under the guise of helping others? But it's not just about the money. Meghan and Harry have faced criticism for how they've handled their departure from the royal family, especially when it comes to their public statements. Their interviews, including the highly controversial sit-down with Oprah, have painted them as victims of a system that didn't support them. But many people feel that by airing their grievances so publicly, they've crossed a line. Shouldn't there be a sense of loyalty to the institution that helped elevate their status? It's important to consider the historical context here. The British royal family has always been about duty. There's an unspoken expectation that members of the family sacrifice their personal desires for the greater good of the nation. In many ways, Harry and Meghan's decision to step away from that duty is a direct challenge to this tradition. But does that make them villains? Or are they simply a product of a modern world where personal happiness and freedom take precedence over royal expectations? The more you think about it, the more the complexity of this decision becomes clear. Meghan and Harry are trying to rewrite the rules. But at what cost? Are they truly the rebellious heroes some view them as? Or are they simply the latest in a long line of celebrities who've tried and failed to balance their public image with their personal desires? But here's where I want to hear from you. Do you think they made the right choice? Or did they give up their royal privileges too soon? Should they have stuck it out, following the example set by previous generations of royals? Or do you believe it was time for them to break free and live their own lives, regardless of tradition? By now, you might be wondering, is Meghan Markle simply misunderstood? Or is there something deeper at play in her behavior? As we've explored, her journey from an American actress to a royal figure, and now to an outspoken public figure, has been filled with controversy. But the real question lies in understanding her personality and the driving forces behind her actions. So, what makes Meghan tick? And why does it seem like her every move stirs up so much trouble? When we talk about Meghan, one thing that often comes up is her tendency to project a victim narrative. From the moment she entered the royal family, there seemed to be a growing sense that she felt isolated, misunderstood, and, let's be honest, entitled to more than what she was given. Her infamous interview with Oprah wasn't just a casual chat. It was a carefully crafted narrative that painted her as a victim of racism, neglect, and emotional distress. But let's ask the tough question, is this portrayal truly accurate? Or is it part of a larger pattern of manipulation? Here's the thing, Meghan's critics have long accused her of using the media to her advantage, portraying herself as a martyr while deflecting any responsibility for the role she's played in the controversies surrounding her. Time and time again, she's presented herself as the victim of circumstances beyond her control. But is this a genuine reflection of her experience? Or is it a strategy to shift the focus away from her own behavior? Take, for instance, the stories of her relationship with the British royal family. Meghan has claimed she was pushed to the brink, that the family did not support her, and that her mental health was put under severe strain. Yet, when you examine the evidence, it's hard to ignore the glaring inconsistencies in her narrative. Several royal insiders have come forward, casting doubt on Meghan's version of events. One of the most notable points is her accusation that the family refused to provide her with mental health support. However, there have been numerous reports that suggest Meghan had access to the very support she claims was denied. So, why the disparity between her claims and the reality? Is it possible that Meghan may have exaggerated the truth to garner sympathy? Or was she genuinely let down by the family? Let's also talk about the accusations of narcissism that have been swirling around Meghan for years. This isn't a new concept. People have been labeling her as narcissistic ever since she became a public figure. But what does that really mean? Narcissism is a personality disorder that often involves an inflated sense of self-importance, a need for excessive admiration, and a lack of empathy for others. When you look at Meghan's behavior, especially in the context of her royal life, it's hard not to see the signs. She's constantly been in the spotlight, not just as a member of the royal family, but as someone who has sought to control the narrative surrounding her. Whether it's through interviews, documentaries, or public appearances, Meghan seems to crave attention and adoration from the public. But the more attention she seeks, the more the public begins to question her intentions. Is Meghan truly unaware of her impact on the royal family? Or is she deliberately trying to tear down the institution from the inside out? Some people argue that Meghan has shown a complete disregard for the traditions and responsibilities that come with being a part of the royal family. She's been accused of breaking royal protocol, undermining family members, and even stirring up drama with the press, all while presenting herself as the victim. Could this be the behavior of someone who is genuinely struggling, or someone who simply wants to bend the world to their will? This is where things get complicated. When you compare Meghan's actions to those of other royals, past and present, the contrast is stark. The British royal family has long been known for its stoic, duty-bound members. The likes of Queen Elizabeth II, Prince Charles, and even Princess Diana, all of whom faced immense pressure, managed to navigate the public eye with grace and dignity, despite their personal struggles. So, why does Meghan seem to take a completely different approach? Is it the pressure of royal life that's causing her to unravel? Or is it simply that she's unable or unwilling to conform to the expectations placed upon her? Some might argue that Meghan's constant deflection of blame is part of a larger pattern of narcissism. She often seems to paint herself as the innocent bystander in a sea of drama, while casting others, the royal family, the press, even her own family, as the antagonists. But this doesn't account for the growing number of people who feel that Meghan's actions have hurt not only the royal family, but her own supporters as well. Is it possible that Meghan's constant need for validation is eroding the very relationships she claims to hold dear? And let's not forget Harry, her devoted husband. While Harry has consistently supported Meghan, even in the face of immense public criticism, it raises the question, is he truly aware of the nature of his wife's behavior? Many argue that he's been so enmeshed in Meghan's world that he's failed to see the full picture. Is he simply blinded by love, or is he complicit in the decisions she's made? As we've delved into the controversy surrounding Meghan Markle and Prince Harry, one crucial question continues to linger. What has all this drama truly cost them? And what will their legacy look like in the years to come? The stakes are higher now than ever, as the once celebrated couple faces the consequences of their choices. But what does that really mean for their future? First, let's take a step back. When Meghan and Harry first made their decision to step away from royal duties, it was seen by many as a brave move. It was portrayed as them taking control of their own lives, free from the royal constraints that many thought were stifling their happiness. At the time, people applauded their courage. But as the months have passed, has that initial sympathy turned into skepticism? Take a moment to think about it. The couple's decision was not without its consequences. While they sought freedom from the intense scrutiny of royal life, they ended up drawing even more attention. Their media appearances, from interviews with Oprah to documentary deals with streaming platforms, have kept them front and center. But now, many are questioning their motives. Is it really about stepping back and living a life on their own terms? Or is it more about building a brand and profiting from their royal titles? The world watched as they turned their royal status into a marketing tool. Yet the more they capitalized on it, the more public perception shifted. And let's not forget the ongoing feud with the royal family. The palace has remained mostly silent in the face of accusations made by Meghan and Harry. So, why the silence now? Could it be that the royal family simply doesn't know how to deal with the modern media landscape that Meghan and Harry have navigated so well? Or is it that they're choosing not to respond in an attempt to avoid further fueling the fire? At this point, it's clear that Meghan and Harry's actions have stirred a sense of division. On one hand, they've been praised by those who believe they are challenging outdated traditions and speaking out against a toxic system. On the other hand, they've faced harsh criticism for what many see as a series of missteps, exploiting their royal ties for personal gain while simultaneously criticizing the very institution that granted them so much. Here's where it gets even more complicated. Meghan and Harry have repeatedly emphasized their commitment to social justice causes. Yet, critics argue that their actions speak louder than their words. Or is this simply the reality of being a public figure in today's world? But it's not just about money. Meghan and Harry's constant media presence has also alienated many who once supported them. Some see them as hypocrites preaching about compassion, equality, and the importance of mental health while leading a lifestyle that seems out of touch with the everyday struggles of the average person. While they've spoken out about the pressures of royal life, they've also been seen living in luxury, with private jets, multi-million-dollar homes, and a public persona that still revolves around celebrity status. Does this undermine their message? Or are they simply living their truth in a world that demands such a spectacle? Let's be honest, it's hard to ignore the deep divide that has formed between Meghan, Harry, and the rest of the royal family. The public's reaction to their exit and the subsequent fallout has made it clear that not everyone is on their side. Some feel they've betrayed the royal family, while others view them as heroes for stepping away from an institution they believe is outdated and oppressive. This clash of perspectives raises an important question. Can Meghan and Harry truly repair their relationships with the royal family and the public? Or have they crossed a line that cannot be undone? As we wrap up today's discussion, it's clear that the story of Meghan Markle and Prince Harry is far from simple. On one hand, we've witnessed a couple that's tried to break free from the confines of royal expectations, seeking independence and control over their lives. On the other hand, their journey has raised questions about loyalty, transparency, and the true cost of fame. So, where does that leave us? Are Meghan and Harry the victims of an outdated system? Or are they simply navigating a modern world where fame and fortune often overshadow the pursuit of purpose? Have they managed to challenge the royal establishment? Or have they become products of their own ambition? As we continue to follow their story, one thing is certain, the debate is far from over. And each new chapter only adds more layers to this complex narrative. Now, I want to hear from you. What do you think? Are Meghan and Harry right in their fight for freedom? Or have they crossed a line? Do you believe they can ever repair their relationship with the royal family and the public? Or is it too late? Drop your thoughts and comments below. This is a conversation we need to keep having. And if you're as invested in the royal family as we are, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, Kate Middleton and the Queen. We bring you all the latest news, in-depth analysis, and captivating stories that you won't find anywhere else. Hit that bell icon so you never miss a video, because there's always more to uncover in the world of the British royals.